Good morning and welcome to Valley Views. I'm your host, Glenn Edison. We're certainly glad to have you. And as always, we're thankful to BTC Fiber for their sponsorship. And you can see this program on BTC Fiber's YouTube page as well as BTC Fiber's Channel 18. And today we have with us Ruth Holland, and she is Registrar of Elections. Is that
Administrator of Elections.
Administrator of Elections. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I know, excuse me. I know there's been a lot of confusion and concern over these elections because of this Republican primary. So
correct.
Let's start with that. Explain why we're having a Republican primary this time as opposed to why we've not had it in years.
Okay. 8 years ago, we had a Republican and Democrat primary just for the judicial races only. This year, the Republican and Democrat Party This year, the Republican and Democrat state Republican Party. This year, the state Republican and Democrat Party have both requested a primary for the judicial offices, which is Circuit Court Judge, Part 1, 2, and 3, Chancellor, Public Defender, and District Attorney. In addition to that, the state Republican Party has also requested a county primary for all the county offices. Reason being is the county Republican Party and Democrat Party are both inactive. So they stepped in on behalf of the inactive county parties. So that's why we're having a Republican county primary.
And that's because they didn't have, the Republican Party locally didn't have a representative.
It was inactive, yes. And so since then, some of the citizens in Sequatchie County have come together and reorganized the county Republican Party. So now we do have an active Republican Party.
All right, and the Republican primary is going to be important because there's going to be 3 offices.
3 offices will be determined in May, which will be county executive, sheriff, and trustee. All of those candidates have decided to run as a Republican. Had they decided to run as an independent, their name would not be on the ballot in May, it would be on the ballot in August. But since everyone's running as a Republican, those 3 offices will be determined in May. And in turn, whoever wins in May, their name will be on the ballot unopposed in August.
Oh, okay. Now, what date is that in August?
August 4th.
August 4th.
First Thursday in August.
First Thursday in August. All right, and that answered that question. Now, all deadlines and everything are already passed for qualifying and all the...
Qualifying deadline for the May and August election was February 17th. Write-in deadline was March 14th. So if anyone wanted to run as a write-in, the deadline was March 14th.
Oh, okay. So all the deadlines are passed.
Correct.
When does the early voting start?
Early voting starts April 13th and goes through April 28th. We'll be open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to 12. And then the election is May 3rd.
So it's important for those that, especially the sheriff and the county executive and the trustee, no matter what party you affiliate with, if you want your candidate to win, you need to get out and vote in this primary.
Correct. And some people want to wait until August, but that will be determined in May.
Yeah, so that's something that people need to know.
Correct.
You know, I'm friends with everybody that's running, and and people just need to get out and vote. And about how many people do we have on the rolls?
We have almost 10,500.
So that's about 2/3 of the county, roughly.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good number, I guess.
It is.
For a small county like ours.
It is.
And wish we had more. I wish it'd be 100%, but
Right.
Because I've heard some people, their idea is, well, it doesn't matter. They're going to do what they want to anyway. But it does matter if you can have a choice,
right,
or a voice,
right.
And because sometimes elections are won just by small numbers.
Right, a small margin. Correct.
So, I imagine there's going to be a lot of interest, especially in the county. Well, these three that we mentioned: the county executive, the sheriff, and the trustee, because that's three important positions.
Correct.
And they're all county-wide, so
Correct.
That's something everybody needs to be aware of. And if they don't vote in the Republican primary, then when they get to the August, they'll just have to.
It's a more what we call a courtesy vote.
Yeah. And then they can't complain if their candidate didn't win.
Correct. Correct.
Because they didn't vote.
Right.
Now, the ones that have qualified for the August election, who are not doing the Republican primary, are they declared independents, or can they be Democrat as well? Or
no, they're declared independents.
Independents.
No one qualified as a Democrat for the judicial offices. So in May, I will have a Democrat ballot for judicial, which no candidate qualified for, and then I'll have the Republican judicial along with the county.
And those, a lot of people don't think about those judicial because they think, well, I don't know them,
Right.
And you may not know them, but that's important, it's important for people to, I guess, to research, do their own research and find out how
Do their own
these
research, go to their community center meetings. I think Lone Oak is having a meet and greet this Saturday. Next Saturday, I take that back. Lone Oak is having a meet and greet the first Saturday in April, and Lewis Chapel is having a meet and greet with the candidates April 9th.
Oh, okay.
So if the voters would just get out and participate in their community, then that's one way to get to know the candidates. A lot of people think we have information on the candidates. They're at our office, but we don't. All we can do is, tell them to get on Facebook and search them out on Facebook or what have you, because a lot of candidates have websites or
social,
a lot of candidates have,
So that they have the Facebook. A lot of them, I know, I've seen some with Facebook.
Yeah, on social media.
So that takes care of a lot of that. And now I imagine y'all have had a lot of phone calls, probably tons of phone calls concerning the primary, right?
Yes. A lot of people wanting to know why there's not why no one ran as a Democrat, or why there's not a ballot for the Democrat Party, but no one qualified.
Well, that's interesting. And because some of these races, I hate that they're even politics is involved. It should just be who the best person is.
Right.
And I think that what confused a lot of people when you had the Republican primary. They thought that it's more of a political thing, and,
right.
And it really wasn't. It's just because we didn't have anybody to tell the state no, we don't want a primary.
And of course, I talked to the representative in Nashville that represents the state Republican Party, and he voiced that he wanted people to have an opportunity to vote. And I explained to him, in our county we don't have a primary. Everyone wants to run as an independent, but he looked at it as a way to get people out to vote.
Well, maybe, but I think more people get out to vote when it's just the regular elections.
Right.
Let's see what. Well, I'm drawing a blank, which is not usual for me. Now, we've not had you said it as a primary about 8 years ago, you said? So,
but it was just judicial.
So people are not used to primaries here.
Right.
And
the only primaries we have are state and federal level.
Yeah.
Not county.
I think someone told me we had one like many years ago for some
Someone
reason.
had mentioned back, I think in the 80s, that we had a Democrat primary for county offices, and the turnout was very low.
Yeah. Well, and the cost, is this going to be an extra cost to the county?
No, because I already had it budgeted for the judicial primary.
Oh, okay.
So it's not additional cost. I already had it budgeted
Oh, okay, because that was what some people were asking, if it's going to cost us more now that we had.
No.
Well, that's good. That's good. And
It is an expense. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong.
Yeah.
8 years ago, when we did have a judicial primary, all the candidates were unopposed except for Circuit Court Judge Part 3. And with that being said, we had to hold early voting. And the turnout during early voting and election day was 174 people.
oh,
That was the turnout. That's who came out and voted, 174 people. And my biggest expense is paying poll officials on
Right,
election day and
right.
early voting. So that election cost anywhere between $14,000 and $15,000,
wow, that much.
and that low of a turnout.
And that's why it's important for people to turn out,
Right,
because it makes it worth your time.
right,
And also, you can't complain if you do vote. I mean, your candidate may not win, but you do vote and you have a voice.
right.
And excuse me, I've got this head cold. Now, those that didn't qualify under the Republican primary, they'll be on the ballot in August,
You're right.
right? So the winners of the Republican primary will be on the ballot, if they were running in a not these three races, but other races,
Mhm.
they'll be on.
They'll be on the ballot in August.
with competition, if they have competition.
An example is I have one district where I have 3 commissioners running as a Republican, and I have the 4th candidate running as an independent. There are 2 commissioners per district.
Right.
So the top 2 out of the 3 running as a Republican will be on the ballot in August,
Oh.
and those 2 will run against the independent candidate.
Uh-huh.
So the top 2 out of those 3 candidates will take office.
Well, that's interesting. And why do you have to take 2 on that, of those 3? Why is that?
Because there's 2 commissioners per district in the county.
Oh, so that, okay, so that I see. Well, that's interesting. And concerning the people who are running for office, how has that been? What's the rough total of people, do you know? Or maybe you don't keep up with that, but
What?
the number of people running for office.
I don't keep up with that. I mean, there's at least 1, if not 3, running per office
Well, that's
on the Republican and the independent side.
well, that's a good thing. I mean, that's what it's all about, is
Right.
getting people to get out there and to vote
Right,
and have a say.
right.
And
And there's another, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
No.
but there's another confusion. There's questions about people questioning if they're a Democrat and they vote Republican, is that going to put them on the Republican Party side? And in the state of Tennessee, everyone is uncommitted. So if a person wants to vote in this election as a Republican, and then 2 years from now, when we have the presidential primary, they want to vote on the Democrat ballot, that's fine, because everyone's uncommitted in the state of Tennessee. There are some states that require you to commit to a political party when you register to vote, but that's not the case in Tennessee.
well, I know I've heard some people say, well, I can't vote for them in the Republican primary because I'm a Democrat. I've heard people say that.
Right.
And so what you just said just nullifies that.
Right, right,
Because, and I understand, because there's a politics is deep rooted here in the South, as it is across the nation, and people are committed to their parties and they don't want to cross those lines.
right,
And I understand that, but
right,
but in these 3 offices, the county executive, the sheriff, and the trustee, they
right,
need to
Right.
vote,
right.
because that's important. And actually, those three offices are pretty important offices.
They are.
I mean, you're talking about your tax dollars, you're talking about your law enforcement, and you're talking about running the government.
Right,
So I mean, that's pretty big.
yeah.
That's what I think. And how many employees do you have there at the office that help you?
Just one.
Just one?
I have Vivian, yeah.
Vivian, okay.
Mhm.
And
other than my poll officials that work during early voting and then on election day, but just Vivian.
well, on the early voting and the election day, roughly how many people do you have? I mean, I'm sure you have to have them in all the districts.
Right. I have at least 6 poll officials at each precinct. Some of my bigger precincts, such as Lone Oak, Lewis Chapel, Chapel Hill, Fredonia, I typically try to put a couple extra poll officials there because those are my high volume precincts on election day.
Well, you need extra for those.
Right, right.
And so are you looking for a big turnout on this primary? It's hard to say.
It's hard to say. I'll know after probably 2 or 3 days of early voting.
And again, when does that start? April 14th?
April 13th.
13th.
And goes through the 28th.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I usually do. I like to just go ahead and get it done.
Well, a lot of people that live, for example, at Mount Airy, they have to go to Cagle Community Center to vote. And then some of the ones that used to live out on Dawes Mountain would have to go to Fredonia Community Center to vote.
Oh, wow.
So we encourage people to come and vote early because we're right here in town at the courthouse. And it's, we're open 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, 9 to 12 on Saturday. So it's just more convenient for people just to stop by the courthouse and vote while they're in town.
And when there's not things going on as far as the political, like elections and things, what do y'all do there at the office? I mean, do y'all register voters?
We register voters. We purge voters. I go through past election material because I have to maintain that for certain months, years, and so I go through all that on my what I call my off years, and go through all my election materials and see what I need to keep, what I can go ahead and destroy.
And the purging of voters, that's when they haven't voted in several years, right?
That used to be the case, but not anymore. So now we purge voters if they're deceased, if they move to a different county and register to vote in another county. If we mail a voter some type of documentation and it comes back to us, then I have to mail them a confirmation card, and that puts them inactive. Once they've been inactive for 2 federal elections, after that, then I can purge them.
Oh, okay.
It used to be you could purge them if they haven't had any activity for 2 November elections, but that's not the case now.
Oh, okay. Well, and I imagine during the in November, the midterm elections, how's that going to affect us? Is that going to affect us any with the national races?
Well, no.
Okay.
No, we just have the governor, House of Representative, and U.S. House of Representative, and state committee man and state committee woman.
Oh, okay. So really not that much.
Right. It's just state. Yeah.
Okay. Just state.
State and federal because of the U.S. House of Representative.
Right. Was there anything? How can people reach you if they needed to get in contact with you?
Oh, they can call the office at 423-949-2431, or they can email us at seqelection@bledsoe.net. If a person wants to check their voting registration, they can go to govotn.gov to check to see if they're registered. They can also go online at govotn.gov to do an address change or a name change, or if they're not registered, they can register to vote online as well.
Oh, well, that's pretty neat. They can do all that online.
Right.
And of course, now I guess now everything, a lot of things are done online, aren't they?
Right. They started doing the online voter registration about 5 years ago, and that's where we get a lot of our registrations now.
Well,
is online.
Well, that's good. I mean, that helps people that they don't even have to leave home.
Right.
And I'm sure you don't mind.
No.
Because they have to fill out paperwork at the office, right?
Either way, they have to fill out paperwork, so
Yeah.
yeah.
They can just sit there at home and
Right.
sit there in their pajamas if they want to.
Exactly.
Don't have to get dressed up to come to town.
Right.
Well, that's neat. Was there anything else you need to tell us that we haven't mentioned?
Not that I can think of, no.
Well, I certainly appreciate you being with us, Jerrie, Ruth, and
Mm-hmm.
it's been a good time. And I know, like I say, I wanted to get with you because all the confusion,
Yes.
everything that's been going on, everything's been said,
We get phone calls every day.
and maybe that when they see this, that'll help them out a lot.
I hope so. Yeah. Thanks
Well-
for having me.
Well, you're welcome. And again, folks, you can see us on BTC Fiber's YouTube page as well as BTC Fiber's Channel 18. And until next time, we'll see you then. Hey everybody, this is Glenn Edison from Valley Views. We appreciate you watching our shows, and we would like for you to like, share, and follow us on Facebook, as well as like and subscribe to our YouTube page.
Brought to you by Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative, your full-service telecommunications provider right here in the Sequatchie Valley.